exciting things God's ever allowed me to do was to be a dad. In 1975, God gave us our first son. God's allowed us to have 5 children and now 9 grandchildren and more on the way. I'm excited about being a dad. But did you know that one of the reasons God gave you children was that they could be long-distance weapons for you? That you could use your children to go places you'd never go and to do things that you'd never do. Your children could accomplish goals in your life that you would never be able to accomplish in your own life. King David wanted to build a temple, but yet God never allowed him to. But King David was able to prepare the materials and prepare the man that would build the monument for the God of heaven. You have children that God has given to you as a reward, but he gave them to you as arrows in the hands of a mighty man. The Bible says in Psalms chapter 127 and verse 3, "Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate." When God wanted to speak about children, he called them a reward. And we're all excited about that, and we preach about that, and we talk about having our quiver full, but we overlook probably the meaning God had about calling them arrows. In verse 5 it says, "They shall speak with the enemies in the gate." What was going to happen was this mighty man's children would go out and speak to others in the gate. They would go out and speak and represent what Dad believed and thought. Do you know what arrows are? They're a long-distance weapon. They're a weapon that a man can fire from one place and attack in another place a long ways from where he is. Before we had the arrow, they were limited to how far they could throw a rock, how far they could throw a spear, or how far they could throw a punch. But all of a sudden they developed arrows, and these arrows were able to travel great distances and wound or kill the enemy. And God gave us children. Do you ever wonder why God gave you children? He gave you children as an heritage of the Lord. He gave you children as his reward. He gave you children to be used as arms, to be used as weapons in his service. I'm afraid most parents look at their children and the first thing they think is, I got to keep my children close. But he called them arrows. He didn't call them something you kept at home. He called them something you fire a distance. God gave you arrows. Maybe you will never go to Indonesia, but God gave you a child with a bow of faith you can send on his way to speak with those in the gate that they might be saved. God gave you children. They're arrows that might take the gospel message and silently pierce into China and fall into the heart of men and women that need to know Jesus Christ as they speak with them about him and they might be saved. Mom and Dad, take seriously this privilege of having arrows in your hands that you can prepare to serve God around the world. You have a quiver full. He said, happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. You know why? Because he won't be ashamed, because they'll be able to speak with enemies in the gate. They will be able to take the gospel message to places you won't be able to take it. Can you imagine those small children you have? They're riding in the car with you, they're in the house with you. Can you imagine the fact that those young children could someday be William Carey, Hudson Taylor, George Mueller? God has given you children that you can prepare, children that you can send as long-distance weapons. What a privilege to have children we can prepare to take the gospel message to the other side of the world. But that won't happen, will it? Because you see, you want your arrows to hang on a display and look at. You want your arrows to put in the gun rack so you can keep them close by. But you see, arrows were made to be sent great distances.